calling all forward-thinking estheticians. It's time to redefine the art of skincare and embrace a revolutionary approach that begins with your client's skin cell health. I'm pharmacist Ben Fuchs, welcoming you to Truth Treatment Systems, where beauty begins at the cell. We believe you're not just a beauty professional, you are a healthcare professional. You want to make a positive difference and you want to make a good living, and we will help you do both. We're here to support your out-of-the-box thinking and empower you to question traditional products, outdated formulations, and old-school ingredients. Imagine a world where solutions to the skin's enigmatic conditions lie just beyond the horizon. At Truth, we're not just a skincare brand, we're a movement that encourages you to explore better solutions and find that aha moment that changes the game. You are an artist and a healer of the skin, and we're here to provide the canvas and the tools for you to create tailored protocols, leaving generic ones in the past. Sign up now at truthtreatmentspro.com and receive 2 complimentary mineral-rich electrolyte sheet masks. That's truthtreatmentspro.com, where healthy skin is beautiful skin.
This podcast is sponsored by LAMPROBE. LAMPROBE is a popular aesthetic tool that enables skincare practitioners to rapidly treat a wide variety of common minor skin irregularities, or MSI. Red MSI treated by LAMPROBE include dilated capillaries and cherry angiomas, yellow MSI, cholesterol deposits and sebaceous hyperplasia, and brown MSI treated include skin tags and more. LAMPROBE MSI treatments are non-invasive and deliver immediate results. LAMPROBE can empower your skin practice with these new and highly in-demand services. For more information, visit lamprobe.com. That's LAMPROBE.com. And follow LAMPROBE on social media at LAMPROBE.
Hello and welcome to ASCP and the Rogue Pharmacist with Benjamin Knight Fuchs. In each episode, we will explore how internal and external factors can impact the skin. I'm Maggie Stasek, ASCP's Program Director, and joining me is Ben Fuchs, skincare formulator and pharmacist. Hi, Ben.
Hello, Maggie. Good to see you again.
Good to see
Months
you.
Months are flying by.
They sure are.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's both.
Yeah, I'm getting older by the minute, it seems like.
Here's the big question of the day, Ben.
Yes, ma'am.
What the heck are PUFAs, and are they bad for your skin?
Well, first of all, they have nothing to do with loofahs. They're PUFA. It's an abbreviation. It stands for polyunsaturated fatty acids. And they are so fascinating for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're really fascinating because most people don't really understand them or their impact. And by their impact, I mean like certain things that you would never associate with nutritional supplementation, certain benefits that you wouldn't associate with nutritional supplementation. You can get really interesting health benefits from PUFAs. And secondly, PUFAs are very, very unstable. They break down quickly. This creates a lot of difficulties. So real quick, you have basically 2 kinds of fats. And when I'm saying fats, I'm referring to fatty acids, which are components of what we technically and colloquially call fats. So the building blocks of fats are little pieces called fatty acids. There's lots of different fatty acids. Fatty acids can be classified into 2 general types. One type of fatty acid is solid. Think of butter or coconut oil, if you've ever seen coconut oil.
Yeah.
Those solid fatty acids are said to be saturated. And without getting into too much chemistry, saturation refers to a less flexible type of molecule, a molecule that doesn't have electrical energy that flows. The second category of fatty acids are called saturated or unsaturated fatty acids. You have saturated, which are solid, and you have unsaturated fatty acids, which tend to be liquid. The reason they're liquid is because they have an easier way they allow energy to flow more flexibly, more easier through the molecule, through the large molecule itself. So they flow. That flowing nature is perceived as the liquid. The solidity, the lack of flow, is perceived as a solid. Back when I was a kid, they used to tell us, and even probably when you were a kid, until the last 30 years or so, 20 or 30 years or so, they said, oh, saturated fats are really bad for you, and you got to get more unsaturated fats. It's Mazola. I don't know if you remember that commercial. It's Mazola, corn oil.
Corn oil.
Yeah, right? And the thinking was that the saturated fats, because they're solid, clog you up, and the unsaturated fats, because they flow, are less clogging and they're more important. Well, it turns out that's not the case, because saturated fats, coconut oil and butter being the standout examples of saturated fats, although they're found in other places, are very stable. And in chemistry, stability gives you a certain safety. It's unstable molecules is where you can have problems. And the unstable nature of unsaturated fatty acids lends them to certain problems. Nature's always looking to stabilize unstable things. And one of the ways it stabilizes the inherent instability of fatty acids is via a process called oxidation, which you've heard of. And PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids, are very, very prone to oxidation. Not just oxidation from oxygen, but also oxidation types of distortions from heat. And this is really where it becomes a problem because unsaturated fatty acids are found throughout the plant kingdom. And many of the foods that we love to eat cooked. And we love to eat fried. So things like fried corn, for example. Corn's a very rich source of unsaturated fatty acids, or fried flours in general. All grains have unsaturated fatty acids, and when you fry them, you distort them. There are vegetables that have unsaturated fatty acids, and when you cook them or fry them, you distort them. So the heating of unsaturated fatty acids is behind a lot of health issues. And they should never, ever be heated, not only in foods, like in cooking, but in processing in skincare products. And this is really a big problem because a lot of skincare products utilize oils that contain these unsaturated fatty acids. So a PUFA is a polyunsaturated fatty acid that is unsaturated. It flows like a liquid, and it has multiple places where there's increased flow, which makes it extra unstable. And PUFAs are incredibly unstable. Now, I said instability is a problem, but it's also used by biological systems. Instability can be used for communication because when something's unstable, it can switch from on to off or 0 to 1, and biological systems use that instability for communication. So instability can be a bad thing, but it also is utilized by biological systems, and there are two PUFAs that are standouts in terms of biological importance because of this ability to manipulate energy, to turn on and off, to go from 0 to 1 by its inherent instability. These two PUFAs are so important for the body that if you don't have them in your diet, you will suffer a deficiency disease. And this was discovered in the 1920s. They used to think fats were just for calories. But in the 1920s, 1930s, they started to experiment with fats. And there was this very famous biochemistry couple, the Burrs, and they started to experiment with taking fats out of the diet of laboratory animals. And they noticed when they took fats out of the diets of laboratory animals, they would have nerve problems, they would have brain problems, organic brain problems, and they would have skin problems. So they said there's something in these fats that have to be in the diet, otherwise you're going to suffer skin problems and nerve problems and brain problems and inflammatory issues and a whole bunch of other health issues. And they started to experiment, and they found that there were these two molecules in fats that you had to get in your diet. If you didn't get them in your diet, you would suffer from some kind of deficiency disease. One of the most important and one of the most dramatic and standout was skin problems, including dry skin, rashy skin, itchy skin, problems with the skin barrier, increased water loss, inflammation, eczema-like dermatitises. This is all in laboratory animals. These were all issues that laboratory animals suffered when fats were taken out of the diet. And when the fats were put back in the diet, the skin problems went away. So they reasoned that there's something in those fats that you better have in your diet. Now, in the world of nutrition, when there's a molecule that you need to have in your diet that your body can't make, and that if you don't have in your diet, you suffer from a deficiency disease, like a skin problem, like eczema, that nutrient is said to be essential. The word essential means you better get it in your diet, otherwise you're going to suffer from a deficiency disease. So we have essential amino acids, without which you'll suffer from a deficiency disease. Essential vitamins, if you don't have them in your diet, you'll suffer from a deficiency disease. Essential minerals, that if you don't have, you'll suffer from a deficiency disease. And as it turns out, there are two fatty molecules that are found in oils that if you don't have in your diet, you'll suffer from a deficiency disease. We use the word essential. And because these are fatty acids, we call them essential fatty acids. Obviously, you've heard that term. Essential fatty acids are two types of fatty acids that are found in PUFAs. If you don't have them in your diet or in supplements, you'll suffer a deficiency disease. We call them technically omega-6 and omega-3, which is a bit misleading because there's lots of different omega-6s that aren't essential. And there's lots of omega-3s that aren't essential. So making omega-6s synonymous with omega-3 and with essential fats, and making omega-3s synonymous with omega fats is incorrect and misleading and leads to a lot of misunderstandings. As it turns out, there's only one omega-6 fatty acid that gets that moniker of essential, and there's only one omega-3 essential fatty acid that gets the moniker of essential. The omega-3 PUFA that you better have in your diet, will suffer from a deficiency disease, is called linoleic acid, or LA, people call it. And the omega-3 fatty acid that's found in vegetable oils that's said to be essential is called alpha-linolenic acid. And they are both critical. And because we cook our oils, for the most part, and because we process our oils, and because we store our oils in clear bottles, light also has an oxidizing effect. For all those reasons, many people are deficient. Not only are they deficient in omega-6s and omega-3s because we're eating fats and oils that have had their omega-6s and omega-3s distorted and non-valuable, not biologically effective, but even worse, when you ingest or apply an oxidized or distorted, broken down oil or fat on your skin, that can accelerate your natural fat breakdown. Oxidation has a certain kind of contagiousness. So when you put an oxidized substance on your skin, it will accelerate your oxidation being synonymous with aging, with inflammation, with irritation, and with a lot of other negative health situations inside and outside the body. So not only are people not getting the essential fats that they need, but even worse, they're ingesting oils that have been processed so that the previously essential fats that they would have gotten from an unprocessed oil is now a distorted, toxic, and pro-aging and pro-inflammatory substance.
Is this like you have a free radical cascade effect?
That's exactly what it is. When I say oxidation, I'm basically referring to free radicals. The free radicals that are formed from fats are the most problematic of all because they're super sticky and they have a tendency to, like you say, cascade. So this is a big problem. Not only are people not getting the essential fats, but the oils that they're getting, not only don't they contain essential fats, the previously essential fats they contain are now distorted. And a lot of people are dealing with this, which is why you got to be super careful with your fats, super careful with your oils. You don't want to cook them. You want to add your oil after you cook your food. You don't want to heat oils ever. And you don't want to apply oils on your skin topically unless they're freshly squoze, which obviously doesn't happen. So misunderstanding of oils and abuse of oils not only accounts for a lot of health problems for the skin, but it accounts for health problems for the body. And it's no accident that when we figured out how to distort oils, how to really process them industrially in the late 18th century or late 1800s, from that point forward, that's when we started to run into health challenges, serious health challenges involving inflammation, particularly cardiovascular disease and cancer. And I'm not saying cardiovascular disease and cancer is only caused by ingestion of these oils, but it's certainly a factor. And it's no accident that rates of cancer and heart disease have increased simultaneously with our ingestion of these processed oils and with industrial manufacturing of these oils.
So is it your suggestion then that perhaps it is better to cook and heat with something like butter and then apply your oil cool
Brilliant.
After?
Butter is a stable oil. Butter and coconut oil are the only oils you should ever cook with because they're stable. And when they break down, they don't create these distorted, formerly essential molecules that are now pro-oxidants. So you only want to cook with butter. And butter, by the way, is stupendously valuable because one of the saturated fats, remember we were saying saturated fats used to be considered problematic. Now we know that they're not as problematic as the unsaturated fats. Well, there's one saturated fat in butter that is so valuable for the brain and for the nervous system and for the digestive system and for the immune system and for the skin. It's hard to even tell you how valuable this is to express how important this fat is. It's called butyric acid, and butter gets its name, butter, from its butyric acid content. So butter is a stupendously valuable food, and it's the only oil really, or fat, it's not an oil, but the only fat that you want to cook with. So essential fatty acid deficiency causes skin problems, causes inflammatory problems, and perhaps most problematic of all is based on the fact that cells are lined with derivatives of essential fatty acids. And if you don't have enough essential fatty acids, the body will try to make do with whatever fats it has, which will not have the same flexibility as essential fatty acids or plasticity as essential fatty acids. Or even worse, it'll try to incorporate oxidized essential fatty acids into the outside part of a cell, the cell membrane. Why is this important? Because the membrane of a cell is the communication and the brain, the nerve, the intelligence of a cell. And once that membrane becomes distorted, everything inside the cell operates with less efficiency. Not only that, but essential fatty acids also play a role in genetics. So once that membrane becomes distorted, and once your essential fat or your fatty acid intake becomes distorted, or you're deficient in essential fats, you won't be able to produce proteins as effectively at the genetic level. And perhaps most insidious of all is once that membrane becomes solidified or distorted because it doesn't have the lubricity or the plasticity it's supposed to have, hormones cannot bind to the cell membrane, and that can lead to every single health issue you can name, from accelerated aging to cancer to heart disease to autoimmune disease to everything, because now you have a cell that not only is not able to communicate to the interior of the cell effectively from the level of the membrane, meaning all the cell activities will be compromised, the genetics of the cell will be compromised, but even worse, hormones can't bind to that cell. But the problem might not be that you're not making hormones, it might be that they're not binding correctly. And the only way to get around that is to make sure you're getting enough essential fatty acids. And that's easier said than done because of their inherent instability, which is why supplementing with essential fatty acids is so valuable. I consider essential fatty acid supplements to be like a cure for dry skin. It's like that's the treatment for dry skin. I mean, look, we spend billions, tens of billions of dollars in on moisturizer products in this country, and everybody has dry skin, likely because of these essential fatty acid deficiencies. So I consider essential fatty acid deficiencies to be like a treatment for dry skin, taken internally, not topically. You can't use these topically. Remember, they break down. In nutrition, it's not just what you take, it's what you absorb. And fat absorption is very tricky. The gallbladder has to be working correctly. You got to be making bile. You got to have a healthy liver. You got to have a healthy intestine. If you're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome or ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease or leaky gut or SIBO, all of these can compromise fat absorption. So you have to correct your digestive health issues from the pancreas and the stomach to the liver to the gallbladder to the intestine to make sure you're absorbing the fats. Just because you take them doesn't mean you're going to absorb them. So you could be taking your fats and end up with a essential fatty acid deficiency by virtue of a digestive health problem. Second thing is, nature has given us the vitamin E molecule to protect fats. That's vitamin E's main role. That's its raison d'etre, is to protect fats in seeds and in foods. And you'll find vitamin E in nature wherever you find fats, also in supplements. So whenever you're using essential fatty acid supplements, you want to make sure you're taking vitamin E. If you're eating a lot of fats or fatty foods, you want to make sure you're using vitamin E. Vitamin E is nature's guardian, fat guardian that protects fats from oxidation. Vitamin C and selenium also play a role. So it's a good idea to supplement with a broad range of nutritional supplements if you're going to supplement with EFAs or if you're eating oils that contain essential fatty acids. And I really want to emphasize that I've just scratched the surface on it. It's a deeply, deeply complex subject and a very important one for skincare professionals.
That concludes our show for today, and we thank you for listening. But if you just can't get enough of Ben Fuchs, ASCP's Rogue Pharmacist, you can find him at truthtreatments.com. For more information on this episode or for ways to connect with Ben Fuchs or to learn more about ASCP, check out the show notes.